Hello, October. It's already the first week of October. What is even happening? October, I have a weird, love-hate relationship with October. I really want to love October. I love the idea of October. I love fall. I love Halloween. Historically, Octobers are, kind of weird for me. And I was thinking about how, just like with seasons, just like how cyclical, our personal seasons can kind of be. And man, the fall is always doing something weird to me and for me. And I realize that, parts of that is self-inflicted and some of it is just cyclical patterns and behaviors. But yeah, I'm just also October is and fall in general is kind of when I feel some of my most grounded and most creative. And so it's not all bad, but I don't know. I've spent some time this morning, if you've listened to previous episodes, starting my list of things that I, want to try and make or bake or cook this season. And allowing myself a little bit of grace and knowing that it's not going to be in years past where I had a little bit more time on my hands to really be able to get into the kitchen for hours on end. But, if you know me, IRL, and probably even if you don't, I have absolutely the capacity to be very all or nothing, especially in regards to myself. And just some of the pressure that I put on myself. So anywho, I spent some time this morning kind of writing some intentions for the fall and what I want it to look like, what I want next year's fall to look like, and trying to shake off some of this old kind of weird, funky juju type shit that I swear kind of follows me into the fall every year. I don't want it. So anyways, if you're in the same boat, get some writing done. Get that shit down on paper. And again, share with me what y'all are going to make this season, because I want to know. I got asked. I had a couple conversations that inspired this episode, and I also got a couple of emails that were really sweet, and I got some good questions. So we're going to kind of just jump right into it. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about, we umbrellaed, picky eaters. Picky sounds baseless to me, but whether it's kids or if it's your friends or if you're entertaining and you have a lot of folks with dietary restrictions or whatever the case may be, and kind of how you navigate that. So in regards to children, and I have talked about this on previous episodes, I don't make food a thing in my house for a multitude of reasons, and I'll kind of get into that. But one of the reasons why I never really have made it a thing is because I do love to cook, and I love to eat, and I love to feed people. And so I feel one of the best things that I could do to kind of foster that in my own house and within my kids is to, number one, not really make food a thing. And number two, my kids eat whatever I eat. And it has been like that since they started eating at the table. You know what I mean? I have never made separate meals. The only times that I have ever done that is if something is outrageously spicy, because that's just kind of fucked up. That's just that's not cool. But other than that, really and truly, I never held back. If I made curry and Scarlett was 9 months old, or I made pozole and Maddox, that's just what they ate. There was just no other fully seasoned, that's just, and I feel in lots, and like I said, that's been like that since the very beginning. It wasn't I introduced, I don't know, a couple of things and was ta-da, we're going to eat curry today. This has really just kind of been been like my MO. And I also, that stemmed from, you know, like wanting them to just kind of eat what I eat, but also that like inherently makes my life easier. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not making 2 different meals. I never have. I don't intend on doing so. And the other piece of that is like, I don't make food a thing. Like if my kid takes a couple of bites, actually, as a matter of fact, she did this last night. Scarlett actually has always been more of a enthusiastic eater than so far Maddox, who's almost 15 months old. She's always been, since she was tiny, excited about eating, loved mealtime, was always super jazzed about it. And Maddox is like finally kind of coming around into his own, and there is like excitement at meal times, which is just, if you have been around small children that are eating, it's rather cute. But like if she wants to take 4 bites of food and like declares that she's done, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I know that she's not going to starve. I don't believe in cleaning your plate. I don't believe in like force feeding. I think the only sort of like food rule that I have in my house is we always just try everything once, right? And at least once while it's on your plate. And, you know, you can tell me that you don't like X, Y, and Z one time. That doesn't mean that I'm never going to make it again. But like that day, right? If we're eating fish, you know, I don't like fish. Take a bite of fish, then you can tell me that. And then like at some point I'll make fish again and she'll take a bite of it then. You know what I'm saying? But I also feel like inherently that just like makes my life easier, right? Like I'm not arguing. I'm not, I don't know, especially in single parenthood, I have absolutely learned to, I think choosing your battles in general is important, right? Whether it's like in regards to feeding kids or just in general, but that's definitely something like I have had to, really choose some of those battles wisely, because we don't have time. Okay. Like I don't have time to like sit here and like force feed my kid, I don't know, whatever. Broccoli. She loves broccoli. Anyways, I realize that some of you are probably rolling your eyes and are like, man, you just have like a good eater. But I feel like if we just kind of like don't overcomplicate some of this shit, it just kind of happens naturally. Now, I'm not undermining. There are kids and even adults with like sensory things. There are allergies. I understand that like, yes, I do actually feel fortunate, and I am aware that this is not the situation for everybody. I'm not putting a blanket on it. I'm not saying that like my experience is the only experience, but this is what has worked for me so far. And again, this was specifically just in regards to kids, but like the conversation that I was having with my friend was like, you know, how do you go about this when you're entertaining? We do big gay dinners. You don't have to have gay dinner if you don't want to. You can just have hetero dinner. But anyways, I mean, like generally speaking, the attendees that come to these dinners are all gay or queer, with the exception of some. There's usually like 1 or 2 straight people there. We still call it big gay dinner. It is what it is. But like I haven't run into that. That hasn't been a thing for any of us so far, to my knowledge of like, you know, I don't eat that, or gross, or I don't, you know what I'm saying? But I think, I don't know, like I know that just with all of, again, I'm not undermining, you know, allergies and that sort of thing. Some of us eat differently because of our culture. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? And I think that all of us kind of understand what I'm saying. Like, how do you approach a dinner party and you have like 2 vegan attendees and you have somebody that is, I don't know, doing a fad diet or like is keto, or how do you know, I'm not eating carbs. And to that I say, that's too much. I mean, like straight up, like I have no problem cooking vegan and vegetarian. That's not how I eat in my day to day, but there are lots of vegan approaches and vegan dishes and, you know, like vegetarian options that I really love and that I cook just in my own house. And so, but like when you start getting like hella nitty gritty, y'all need to start doing a potluck, because ain't nobody got time for that. I mean, really and truly, like in terms of simplifying your life and making your life easier, I think that there is like nuance there. I think that there is room for exploration. I think that there is room to be accommodating, but not at the expense of like your sanity. You know what I'm saying? So, I guess have your vegan friends over separately, and then, or like potluck the fuck out of that meal, because yeah, I don't know. I mean, that just doesn't, that doesn't sound fun to me. You know what I'm saying? Like hosting and that sort of thing is already like, it requires work, you know? And so if you have a bunch of, and you're trying to like tweak this and tweak that, I think like one option or variation is fine. But when you have like every single person coming to dinner has like some sort of new, yeah, y'all just need to have a potluck or have separate dinners. I mean, I wish that I felt more helpful. And even in that conversation, I said the same thing. I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. But then we also started talking about like picky eaters amongst the people that we're closest with. So like our partners and our spouses. And, I wish that I had more to give you. That also has not been a thing for me. In fact, I think about like, I can't really remember anybody that I have dated that, you know, had a quote picky palate, you know, at any point. I can think of like some people that maybe were not as adventurous or that sort of thing. But for the most part, I really don't know. I don't know how much, this sounds shitty, so I'll just preface that. But like, I don't know how much softness I have for that, because that would be a hella drag. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially with somebody, like there are very few things that I do not like. Frisee is one of them. It's a fucking weed. I literally don't care what you say. I don't care what kind of dressing you're putting on it. It literally pokes you in your mouth and is like the most bitter thing in the free world. I don't know why y'all eat that, but do your thing. I'm not food shaming, but I mean, seriously, often like, and canned tuna. I mean, the things that I do not like are far and few between, but like I have friends whose partners, you know, like eat the same 4 things, and I'm just like, fuck, that would suck so bad. I mean, like the relationship that I'm in now, I mean, like one of the things that we very like quickly connected on and like loved about each other was like our love of food, all the food, and cooking and creating and being in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not saying that that's like a deal breaker for me necessarily, but I just don't even like, that would be such a bummer. Like I even tried to think about what it would be like to just have somebody, even somebody that was not necessarily picky, but like just kind of meh about food. And I absolutely have friends and people that I love that are like that, right? Like eat out of sustaining and not because they're like, oh my God, I got to get my hands on this, or I enjoy this meal so much. But I have no idea how I would approach that, because it's just not, it's not a scenario that I have been in. You know, I think it's easy to say like, fuck that, I'm just not going to cook for you. I mean, are y'all eating separate meals? And also, if you can speak to this, like, if this is a dynamic in your household, I would love to like chat with you about it. And like, actually, I want to know, like, how are you guys navigating that? How are you filling your cup, you know, as the person that really enjoys cooking and feeding people and trying new recipes and that sort of thing? And then also, how are you even tending to your partner's picky palate? You know what I'm saying? So if this is something that you can relate to, I would love to hear from you. You can either even send me a DM on Instagram at Ava Truckee, or you can email me at yoursandbutter at gmail.com, because I gotta know what y'all are doing, because that does not sound super enjoyable.